Coming back to the topic of Rigathi Gachagua and what he told Raila Odinga in Nyandarua. First, I think one of the things people are missing is the fact that Raila Odinga had spoken before Rigathi Gachagua. And to some extent, I would say that Raila Odinga ni yeye alichokoza. Told Rigathi a couple of things, of course. And Raila is very, very good at disorganizing the thoughts of somebody else if you're in him. And it's a very intimidating presence, by the way. If you've never been in his presence, it's a very intimidating presence. You've seen him get into functions late and disrupt that entire process. And even to some extent, that's the same thing that happened in Nyandarua. What I really liked about Rigathi is how unfazed he seemed to have been by the mystery and the drama that tends to accompany Raila Odinga when he goes into places. So Raila carpeted Rigathi to some extent, or told him about not picking calls, told him about the things about the handshake and the resistance that Rigathi has against the dialogue that is going on, and several things. And then Rigathi got up. First, by the nature of the fact that he's a deputy president, he was a senior most government official, so he spoke last. He spoke after Raila. And he spoke for approximately 30 minutes. And I listened to that speech. He spent the first part of that discussion, just maybe the first half, just talking to the family, passing his condolences, just talking development, talking about where they're going to do what, water that's going to be, what's going to be some borehole water that's going to be set up in certain places. And then, as if he had structured himself, he started on Raila. And while that was a conversation, I mean, for me, I have never seen Raila carpeted face head-on like happened in Nyandarua. Rigathi wasn't scared of him. Rigathi wasn't intimidated by him. And of course, what Rigathi did is not what happens normally. In normal circumstances, when two political antagonists meet in a similar space, they're usually very polite to each other. They don't blast off over each other the way Rigathi did. So that was one of the things that disrupted even just how people are viewing this particular engagement. It's not normal. It's not the way. And that takes me back to my first point of the revolution. A lot of things, the normal is being adjusted. The normal is being disrupted. And one of the ways that's happening is what happened in Nyandarua. Rigathi tore into Raila in ways that have never happened. In fact, I was seated somewhere with some people from Mount Kenya. We just come from a funeral. And when we were discussing this, somebody pointed out that what Rigathi did is tell Raila some things that Mount Kenya, the people in Mount Kenya who don't agree with Raila have always hoped somebody would tell him. The first thing is that Mount Kenya fears him. Rigathi put it so simply, and he put it in a way, in normal circumstances, somebody tells you, I fear you, it sounds like they're coming from a weak point. The way Rigathi did it, it didn't come out like he was coming from a weak point. He stated a fact. We fear you. We have seen you get into government. We have seen you get into a handshake with our friend and our leader before, our former leader, Uhuru Kenyatta, and we saw what you did to him. We don't like it, right? It was interesting just to hear it, plain, black and white, no threes. And as Rigathi keeps saying, he's an honest man. He actually put it out there, brutally, honestly. So he pointed out the fact that the region fears him. He then carpeted Raila because of demonstrations, something I have done on this particular platform very many times. He told him, look, you have done demonstrations every time you've lost elections, and not a single demonstration has been peaceful, has been unarmed. I have said that before. We as a country have a constitutional right to demonstrate and picket and present petitions. Constitutional fundamental right. But what Raila does with Maandamano is not what the Constitution envisions. He has what are actually violent demonstrations, the kind of demonstrations that intimidate people from going to work. He disrupts ordinary life. If you work in a certain place and Raila is doing a demonstration there, you cannot go to work. You will be mobbed, you will be hurt, you will be robbed, you will be looted, your business will be looted. That's what he does. And nobody has ever told him that to his face. Rigathi did it. He told him, my friend, those things you call are not protests according to the Constitution. Those are just criminal activities. That really made me happy. The third thing that Rigathi did that was quite interesting is he contextualized his hostility to any form of handshake between Raila Odinga and William Ruto. There has been this accusation that Rigathi is scared. If there's a handshake with Raila and Ruto, he will be isolated. That's happened to Ruto when Uhuru and Raila did a handshake in 2019. And that argument is carried by the fact of what happened then. But Rigathi has been very clear. He says, look, we saw what you did with Uhuru. You got into a handshake with a guy who was very happy, who was used to work with us very well, and he turned into a dictator, into somebody very negative. And his argument is, we are scared you're going to do that to Ruto. So what Rigathi is doing is that he gave the context of his hostility to the handshake. It has nothing to do with him as an individual. It has everything to do with the fact that he is worried that if Raila does to Ruto what he did to Uhuru, then Kenya Kwanza as a government is going to suffer. And again, I agree, he has a point. If, for example, Raila gets into the Kenya Kwanza government and they manage to move away from the plan that they have to accommodate part of what Raila would like them to do, they will disappoint their supporters. And that would be very sad. That's what happened with us in the Jubilee government when Raila came in. I still insist that Raila should stay out of government. Let Kenya Kwanza do their plan as they are. Let them fail or succeed. Let us judge them without any interruption or not give them excuses that somebody got into their government. Finally, the final thing that Rigathi did, this is primarily to Mount Kenya people. This is the first leader from the region who has ever been able to carpet Raila, who is the one person in the region has a political problem with. As far as I'm concerned, this is something that Rigathi can leverage in coming years, because this starts cutting him out as different from anybody else in our region. In our region, we have a lot of leaders in parliament today and outside parliament who will attack Raila, but rarely do they do it to his face. Rigathi was able to do this to his face. Rigathi was able to explain to Raila the problem that the region has with him to his face. If he uses this and he continues doing this, he proves a couple of things. One, he tells the region he's not scared of protecting them and defending them and their interests in front of anyone. Second, he gives the region a certain assurance that they now have a leader that they can actually look up to, who can step up in front of them. This is something I hope comes together, because every region needs a leader. Right now, Uhuru has retired for us as a region, as Mount Kenya region, and we do not have somebody of that stature there. Rigathi can get there very quickly if we give him the relevant support, and he shows that he has the capacity to do it. So let's continue the conversation in our region about whether Rigathi can actually fit into the shoes of the regional leadership of Mount Kenya. And for those who are not from the region, who think that I'm being tribalistic when I say this, every region wants to have a leader who represents its interests on the national table, right? Kalonzo, Raila, William Ruto, who is now the president of the country, so he's moved away from that. But then we have Musalia, we have Akina Joho, Akina Kingi. That's how regions organize themselves politically in this country. And Mount Kenya cannot be left behind. So I hope this comes together. But then there we are. Those are the things I have learned this weekend, the things I would like to share this weekend. As always, we're doing this from Rware Central Hotel, where we're still taking care of your accommodation, we're taking care of your food, chai, mandazi, pilau, nyama choma, and we're trying to make sure you have a place that you can hang out, bring a friend, take a cup of tea as you enjoy the sights and sounds of our lovely, lovely town, Nyeri. Thank you. God bless you. God bless Kenya.